Tess Roy, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. Thank you for sitting down with us.
Thank you for having me, you too.
It's a gift.
It's a gift.
Why, thank
It is a
you.
gift.
Thank
Today we're talking about love,
you.
right?
That's
But
right.
we're talking about kind of like
I don't
the
know, let's talk
dynamics of
about
love.
it.
And so you're a new mom,
I am.
and how's that been?
So far, so good.
So far, so good.
She's just a little gal.
Yeah.
She's a little Rooney gal. She's almost 5 months, and she's the best. And she loves you. I think you're like one of her
Manches.
favorite people. She's your little manches, as you call it. And yeah, every time she hears your voice, she lights up, and I love that.
I love her. She's incredible.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we've been on this this topic of love lately, and we definitely wanted to put you in here. You exemplify love in so many different dynamics and places in your life. Like, I know that you love organization, you love structure, you love fashion, aesthetic. I even pulled these books because I know you love them. You love shoes with flames on them, so I got shoes with flames on them.
Oh, come on.
You love Eric.
I do.
Love Rooney. There's so many different things you love, and we were just talking, and I know that you had a question like right off the top of the
Yeah.
like,
I mean, everything is super intentional with you in your life.
yeah.
And we know that that's something that's internal.
Mhm.
And it comes out externally, obviously, in the way you dress and in the way that you look at the world and the way you put things together for design at Mosaic.
Mhm.
So what is inspiring you right now? Like,
Yeah.
what in the world? It could be anything.
What in the world? I love that question. It changes so much. So sometimes it could be like a fashion magazine, and sometimes it could be like people. It kind of varies just back and forth, and depending on the season. And right now, like, it is a super obvious answer, but Rooney's inspiring me.
Right.
She's inspiring me to be the best person that I can be, which is really cool and also terrifying because there's a little human that needs me,
Yeah.
you know, and I want me to be the best I can be for her. And so that's crazy to have that. It doesn't feel like a pressure. It just feels like a gift. So that's been something that's been inspiring me. And then on the work front, I think something that is really cool is that I have this like internal drive for like a need for innovation. And that's like driving me right now because of how we need to do church and how we operate as a church right now.
Right.
And so it became like, oh, not another Zoom, you know,
Yeah.
which is just like, this is probably going to be on a Zoom, isn't it?
Yes, it will.
So, hey, I'm mixing things up, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, there's like this internal drive where I don't want the way we bring people to Jesus to become a stale thing, you know? Like, I don't want it to be another Zoom.
Right.
And so there's something inside, it's like a ticking time bomb kind of,
Yeah.
where I'm like, we're on the like brink of something incredible.
Right.
And Mosaic is always that.
Yeah.
I think Mosaic exemplifies that always. So that's inspiring me right now. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
I don't know, like, I don't have an answer, like, this is
Yeah.
it, but we're heading to the right direction.
For
I think.
sure.
You know, do you feel it?
Definitely. And
Yeah.
it's so cool to watch you and now like Mosaic Studios,
Yep.
which is like they're the ones like producing all of this content.
Mm-hmm.
And it's cool to be like, now we get to be a part of that. We got water bottles, so I feel like we're part of it.
Pretty official. I love it.
And I believe what drives that innovation is a love, and it's love for people.
Totally.
But like, how did that? So like, I think what we really wanted to like hone in is like, how did that start? Like,
Yeah.
your whole story is like all these different like categories of love, but
Yeah.
I don't think you can categorize love.
Yeah.
I think it's always moving. You said it's fluid, but like, how did that start? As a kid in Victorville, California,
Don't you say it.
which is not
Don't you say it.
anywhere near the spectrum.
I'm
of
not from there.
all the
I'm
things.
not.
Where are you from then?
I'm from there, but I'm
Yeah.
not from
Okay,
there. You know
all
what I'm
right,
saying?
there you go. There you
Get
go.
out of here.
But all the things you love
Yeah.
are wrapped in this crazy city
Yeah.
we call Los Angeles.
Dang, put me on blast.
But like, how did what was love like as a kid?
As a kid? Oh gosh. Love as a kid. It was cool. Being out of Victorville now, I'm like, how? It's like a little like alarming to be like, oh man, I really didn't belong there.
Yeah.
So like the moment I moved to LA, it was like, oh my gosh, I can breathe. Or like I have permission to be who I'm called to be. Instead of being like, oh, I don't fit in here. Or like I wanted to go to fashion school. And I did. And everybody in my class was like, like I'm going to go to UC San Diego and I'm going to, be a therapist, or which is great. All those things are amazing. And I'm not discounting that, but I was like, I want to be in fashion and do fashion designs, and here's my portfolio. And I got in, and I didn't apply for to a single university.
Yeah.
I just kind of knew. So it was fine until I knew that there was there was a better place for me. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so the moment I could breathe and be myself was the moment I was like, I was grateful for my childhood and my upbringing, and that was special. But I've just felt permission to be free and experience freedom in a new way, which is really cool. I don't know, does that answer the question?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But what drove I guess drove that love for design? Because that kind of got you to where you are now.
Totally.
Because Victorville's not doesn't scream design.
You don't know.
Well, yeah, you're right. I don't know. I've never been there.
Victorville definitely doesn't scream design. But I hadn't experienced many cultures, or I hadn't experienced so much diversity. And the moment you get to LA, it's LA is so special in that way.
Yeah.
You see, I got to see people differently, and I got to experience cultures differently. And I just think that I knew that there was something else.
Yeah.
And so I knew I didn't want to be where I was.
Gotcha.
And so that kind of drove me. And so it wasn't specifically design was driving me.
Yeah.
It was this, I don't want to be here.
Right.
I don't want to be here. I don't want to keep doing the same thing that I'm doing.
Okay.
And so it was an inner desire to do something different and do something that I felt I was called to do, which I didn't even know what it was, but kind of fashion, just kind of
yeah.
I don't know. I'm just talking.
No, that's awesome. And then we were talking earlier, so because we've heard your story, and then we were kind of wrestling around the story, when you came to Mosaic, maybe it changed. I think you had a question on that,
Well, how'd you even find Mosaic?
I live with 3 roommates in a 1-bedroom apartment, and that's hilarious. And and one of my roommates, she said, you have to go to Mosaic. And I said, what is that? And she said, it's a church. And I said, no thanks. Catch you later. And she said, no, it's different. You have to come. And I was like, okay, I'll come. And I remember thinking I've never heard the message of Jesus communicated this way.
Wow.
And so something about it was enticing to me. I wasn't quite ready for life change, or to even change who I was or wanted to be. So I was still super sketchy, partying on the weekends, hanging out with the wrong people I should definitely not have been hanging out with. Because it takes a bit to get to spiritual maturity, spiritual health even. Right. So it took me a bit, because I would get in these situations where I'm like, I don't want to be here, which was a great first step.
Wow.
I think that's an awesome first step if you're I keep making decisions and I keep getting in places I don't want to be.
Yeah.
How did I get here?
Yeah.
It's a great first step.
Yeah.
But it took me a long time to get to, okay, these are what making the right decisions looks like.
Right.
And so my roommate, that's a really long answer to what you asked, but my roommate brought me, and I'm so grateful for that, because I kept coming back and I kept saying yes. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is changing me from the inside. And I love it. And I'm starting to fall in love with Jesus. End up getting baptized, doing the whole thing. And I've been on staff for 6.5 years.
Right.
That's I sped up the end
No,
of the
you
story
did.
there.
I want to go back to the part where the tipping point is. You're I started to fall in love with Jesus.
Yeah.
So, for someone, it is something so hard to explain.
Yeah.
But what is that?
Yeah. Before Jesus, I was living a life purely for myself.
Yeah.
And it was so selfish, but I don't think I knew that. And so when I came to Mosaic, it was oh my gosh, I see people and I'm starting to love people. And it's just a total internal shift where I was oh my gosh, I wasn't loving people well or even at all, it seemed like.
Yeah.
And so it totally shifted my perspective on
Yeah.
how I look at humanity, how I look at people. I'm like, oh my gosh, everyone is so unique, and that's an amazing thing.
Yeah.
Not like an annoying thing. Like
Yeah.
if you're not like me, you can't hang, you know.
Right.
I saw it was a perspective shift, and it was
Yeah.
the biggest blessing, you know, because I
Sure.
see humanity differently now.
Last question.
Lay it on me.
So, with all that said,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. You don't strike me as someone who grew up saying like, "I can't wait to be a mom," because you seem like a really independent person
Uh-huh.
who wants to just take over the world.
Yep.
And now you have this gift of Rooney.
Uh-huh.
And also you have the gift of Eric.
Totally.
So how has Rooney changed your life?
I find myself in moments where I would usually like fly off the handle.
Right.
Like I'm not the most patient person, where I'm like, oh my gosh, you're teaching me patience like right before my eyes.
Wow.
Like you are patience. Like I'm looking at patience, and I'm looking at hope. Like she's like the biggest and greatest symbol of hope for me.
Yeah.
And I think like to just summarize it like real clean would be, she has expanded my capacity to love.
Wow.
And so I haven't experienced this type of love before. And then when she entered into the world, it was like my heart expanded. And you know, it's just the little things like
Right.
I'm looking at patience, I'm looking at hope, I'm looking at like peace. I'm like, God, give me peace, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm looking at her and I'm like, you are giving me peace. You are like showing up in those types of moments. But I hope that answers your question.
No, it does, and I think it like coincides with that verse that talks about love is patient, love is kind,
Mm-hmm.
and on and on and on.
Yeah.
But I think, thank you so much. Like
course.
this was like so insightful. I learned so much. Like it's so cool to watch somebody personify like all the things the Bible talked about love, and then just like watch you love people and watch you create things
Mm-hmm.
for people to find that same love. And I think like Rooney is in the best hands of all time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
We're grateful to be following the lead of Tess.
Come on. Love you guys.
Love you
Yeah.
too.